Happy screen time and thank you for subscribing for Daily Pokemon Sleep Row Tomfoolery. We are waking up for the last full day we will spend at the Old Gold Power Plant for a long time. And for anyone wondering, we did finish that last favorite berry mission. It literally took the entire day. We also are going to finish the incense mission today, but I guess the incense mission doesn't register until after you check your sleep session. The incense is definitely already used. Yesterday, I reported that we reached 500 sleep styles in this Pokemon Sleep account from our sleep research from yesterday morning. This means that my sleep dex is 81% complete right now, but as you and I know, this is a moving target because more and more Pokemon continue to be added to the game. 500 seems absolutely insane, especially when I looked back to see how many sleep styles were in this game when it released. There were only 415. It is crazy to think that over 200 sleep styles have been added to the game in just over a year. Now, to you who is watching this video, you're probably hoping to figure out how to get more sleep styles for yourself. So I'm going to tell you what I've done probably differently than you. I don't believe that there's a right or a wrong way to play Pokemon Sleep, but there are better or worse ways to play if you have particular goals in mind. I can't help but think of Michael Scott sitting in David Wallace's office and being asked, "What are you doing right?" And hopefully what I offer today is more helpful than that exchange. Although, fair warning, if you've been playing the game as long as me, which is just over a year, it might be too late for you to do some of these things. But if you are a new player, you might find this a little more helpful, because I'm going to go all the way back to the beginning to some choices that I made very early in this game. Maybe this will affect how you play the game, and maybe it won't. You won't hurt my feelings, but I just appreciate you stopping by my new channel here. First, let me give you the TLDR. I've been able to reach 500 sleep styles because, on average, compared to other players, I have had higher drowsy power, which probably seems intuitive, but what's a little crazy is that I've done it all with subpar Pokemon. Now that I know how to rate Pokemon, and I have a very good handle on the game, I know that these are not Pokemon that you would want to be using, but it turns out they worked anyway. So I present to you the combination of events and decisions that contributed to 500 sleep styles. And because it's a bunch of different things together, I'm just gonna call them Thing 1 and Thing 2, but please don't think a cat in a hat is gonna show up. Only the mice wear hats in this game. Thing 1, and this is one of those things that's probably too late for some players. I took my Cyan Beach area bonus to the max before I went to Taupe Hollow. Then I took my Taupe Hollow area bonus to the max level before I went to Snowdrop Tundra. Consider this thought experiment with me. I'd like to show you that by splitting area bonus across multiple areas, you will have less drowsy power compared to staying in one area. And some of you are rolling your eyes like, yeah, this makes sense. But bear with me for a sec while I explain it to those who don't get this. Keep in mind as well that area bonus does work a little bit differently now in the early game, but back in my day, we only got 5%. And we're going to talk about the 4 areas that were there in the early game: Greengrass Isle, Cyan Beach, Taupe Hollow, and Snowdrop Tundra. In 4 weeks, if you were to visit each of these areas, and I know you wouldn't have been able to visit Snowdrop on the 4th week most likely, this is just a thought experiment. In 4 weeks, you could split your area bonus across 4 areas at 5% each. Or if you stayed at a single area, you would get the area bonus up to 20% after those 4 weeks. Now, 4 more weeks go by, and if you were visiting each area, you would have taken them up to 10% each. But if you had started and stayed at the 20% area, you would be up to 40% on that area bonus. In that area, your bonus would have gone from 20 to 25 to 30 to 35 to 40%. Meanwhile, on the other scenario, you went 5 to 10, 5 to 10, 5 to 10, 5 to 10. So if you think about the strength of being at 5% compared to 20%, and then 5 compared to 25, etc., hopefully this feels obvious now that staying in one place gets more drowsy power. Thing number 2, while I spent week after week at Cyan Beach, I was preparing a team for Taupe Hollow. I found a Diglett and 2 Growlithe with Berry Finding S, and I was collecting lots of candies for these Pokemon. I don't know, they just kept showing up. I also found a Berry Finding S Charizard shortly after arriving at Taupe Hollow for the first time, and a Berry Finding S Larvitar. Okay, admittedly, I overvalued Berry Finding S, but at the time I just didn't know as much about the game. Guess what I did while I was at Taupe Hollow? I realized that I could level up my Larvitar to Pupitar to a Tyranitar, who I could carry with me into Snowdrop Tundra. I also had found a Berry Finding S Ditto, and I had been collecting candies for Ditto all along the way. I also found a really fast, shiny Houndoom. And guess what else I was collecting at Taupe Hollow? Houndour candies. And last but not least, turns out when I was sitting on Cyan Beach, I also collected plenty of Spheal candies. So I had 2 Berry Finding S Spheals that just happened to be ready to go when I was starting Snowdrop Tundra. So to be clear, Thing 2 is that I was prepping for the next area and looking ahead at it while I was grinding up the current area. Thing 3 is that I didn't invest in any of the Pokemon for Taupe or Snowdrop until right when I went to those areas. As a result, Thing 4, I was able to enter Taupe Hollow and Snowdrop Tundra with higher leveled Pokemon than most. If you compared levels of my Pokemon when I was at 0 and 5% area bonus compared to somebody else who went there a lot earlier. Thing number 5 is a principle, and that is that I've tried to be intentional about when I get into new content in the game. It can be very easy to get excited and distracted about shiny new things, and I don't mean shiny Pokemon, although yeah, you can get excited about those. I mean like how right now, we recently found a pretty great Grubbin, but I'm probably not going to unlock coffee for at least 4 more weeks, and maybe longer, we'll see. I have unlocked Lapis Lakeside before I even set foot on Snowdrop Tundra, and I didn't go to Lapis Lakeside for a lot of weeks after it was available in the game. Thing number 6 is that I used Pokemon that weren't ideal. Okay, that's not really a good tip. Thing 6 is that I didn't wait around for great Pokemon. I just got moving. You're seeing some of them on the screen right now, but I have a lot of high-level Pokemon that if I caught them today, they would be going straight to the professor. Pretty much none of these Pokemon that I mentioned before and that I'm showing you are good at the things that they're supposed to be good at. I think Ditto is the only one that's actually good, and maybe you could make a case for the Spheals, but they both have Speed of Help down. But the same thought experiment that we use for the area bonuses applies to Pokemon leveling as well. Would you rather have 10 level 10 Pokemon or 5 level 20 Pokemon? And you can only use 5 Pokemon at a time, so here's a pro tip. Don't worry about investing in Pokemon that are just going to sit in your box. Only invest in Pokemon when you're going to use them. And along with this, don't spread your resources too thin. It's okay to be looking ahead, of course, and go ahead and make plans about who to invest in. Just don't do the actual investment until you're ready. And allow me to fast forward you through this part where I could not find Terry on the screen. This is what happens when you try to record something first thing in the morning on not that much sleep. I was seriously like, where is he? Oh, there he is. But for context, I sped up that video by 10 times. I seriously scrolled past him over and over and over. And I gotta shout out to these Pokemon names that all rhyme. Barry, Harry, and Terry. They were such a good crew. It's actually way nostalgic to be pulling out these old teams. Alright, sorry. Thing number 7. And thing number 7 is gonna need a disclaimer because thing number 7 is that I have never taken a nap in this game. The disclaimer is I am not saying that you shouldn't take naps. The only point that I intend to make by bringing this up is that it is a factor in how I got to 500 sleep styles. So just like you can dilute your area bonus, dilute your resources in leveling Pokemon, the same principle applies here. That single longer sleep session, when you go through that drowsy power ranking calculation thing, it has more to choose from when you have more drowsy power. So if you nap and you split your drowsy power, you do get more spawns and more candy and I think more dream shards, but you are going to get marginally less sleep styles. And this wasn't a strategic reason that I don't nap. I just don't actually nap, and so I don't set up my phone to nap. Maybe if I had a Pokeball Plus, I would consider it in some situations, but putting my phone out of commission for an hour and a half during the day is typically not an option for me. Thing number 8 is that I almost always get a sleep score of 100. Regardless of what time I actually go to bed, I always try to put my phone to bed around the same time because I always wake up about the same time. And I found that with my body, this happens whether I set an alarm or not. My internal clock just always wakes me up around the same time. So I guess in total there were 8 things, but let me give you just a couple more pieces of advice or observations or whatever you want to call them about Pokemon sleep. Everybody knows that there's a lot of RNG in this game. It affects what Pokemon spawn, how good each of those Pokemon are because of randomized natures and subskills, and because the Pokemon spawn at random, some players might get more ingredient specialists and some might get more berry specialists showing up even. The point being, there is a lot about this game that is actually out of a player's control. And so in order to make good choices in this game, you have to be willing to some extent to just take what the game gives you. As you can see, we've gotten a lot of Pokemon that just by nature of being on our sleep teams, grinding up levels week after week, happen to just make it pretty far into the game. And because we had the need met good enough, we didn't keep hunting for more of them. I guess you could say that we settled, but they were just the best options that I had at the time when I needed them. It is natural that as you progress in the game, your standards for the Pokemon Pokemon that you invest in are going to get higher and higher. And that's a good thing because it means you're learning how to play the game really well. But one thing that gets me to roll my eyes is the advice that I see get exchanged in forums on the internet. Now, don't get me wrong, I think it's great that we have an active player community and that players want to help each other. I just think that generally speaking, when it comes to a rate my Pokemon request, that we almost never have enough context to help a player make a good decision. And I think that a lot of bad advice has actually been given out because somebody who is farther along in the game has higher standards than somebody who is still earlier in the game should have. And my easy example of this is, what if somebody found a Totodile with Helping Speed M at level 10 and they are just a couple weeks into the game at Greengrass Isle? They post that photo online and say, "Is this good?" And for where they're at in the game, heck yeah, that thing is good. Get that thing on your team and get to Cyan Beach, man. But the comments on that thing are going to be like, "That is trash. It doesn't have Berry Finding S. Oh no, don't invest in that one. You'll find a better one. Keep looking." And again, great advice, but maybe not for the timing that the person who's asking is asking. We just almost never get that context of how far along someone is in the game. And I think we have to assume that most of those players are new because the game is actually not that complex when it comes to the Pokemon type and what's good and what's not. So I think a lot of players are actually stifling their progress in this game because they're taking bad advice. Now, that's an opinion and an observation, but I think it's important that if you want to progress in this game, you've got to go learn the game. You've got to take ownership of your account, and sometimes that means you have to make bad investments early on so you can learn from your mistakes, or so you can not learn from your mistakes, and as it turns out, you'll be just fine anyway. Now, I'm not saying that if you have two Pokemon, one good and one bad, to invest in the bad one. I'm just saying that while you're still figuring out the game, maybe don't be so picky about what you invest in. Yeah, you know, it's like they say, you gotta spend money to make money. You've gotta spend Dream Shards to make Dream Shards. And honestly, you don't even really have to spend Dream Shards because I think one of the most undervalued features in this game is the experience that Pokemon gain overnight. So, while I've told you what I did to get to 500 sleep styles, and while you might not be able to do that, or at least not all of it, what I can offer you is this. Always be open to learn new things. Don't assume you know everything about the game. Go out and find people who seem to know what they're talking about and do your own research. And if you want to be good at this game, stop asking the questions, is this good or is this worth investing in? Ask the questions that are going to help you learn how to answer those questions for yourself. And one of the reasons that I started this channel is to help people learn those things. So subscribe and we'll keep sharing more tips and figuring this game out together. One final point of clarification. I did most of this as a free-to-play player. I did not get the premium pass until a few months ago, although I did buy the first trial bundle. So let's see if session 447 will take us past 500. Last night I stayed up very too late. But hey, don't judge me on those choices. Judge me on the jokes. Why did the Snorlax cross the road? Wait, nope, this isn't the kind of jokes we do here. If you're new to the channel, hopefully the next few minutes of your life give you reason to subscribe and come back. Old gold! Oh my gosh, we've got my favorite Shinx sleep style, but on top of Snorlax. Let me see if Shinx can run it, girl indeed, he can run it, the canopy on the floor, if it ain't, let me know. We got two Pichus, Drifloon, Ditto, we got Magneton and Quagsire too. I cannot remember the words long enough to do that in one take, so sorry the timing is whack. Alright, 501. And I don't intend on keeping count of all of these, but I probably will for the next little while, and then once I lose track, I'll just lose track. Until we get to 600. So let's start talking about Carmine Volcano, the next area that we need 490 sleep styles to unlock. Just kidding, let's shout out to Shinx, who we now have all of the sleep styles for. Shinx, are you sleeping on Snorlax because you're brave? Unfortunately, that doesn't seem very modest or mild. Our good camp ticket brought us a Magneton today, who we could just catch outright with the premium bonus, and it's cool to see two Pichus, but our days are numbered in trying to find a Shinx. We only have 2 sleep sessions left, and I'm very serious when I say we won't be back here for a long time. We're just here to take advantage of the boosted spawn rate. Oh my gosh, which is why I'm totally gonna lose to Snorlax. That competition is rigged. Oh wait, no, he's not at Old Gold Power Plant yet. Alright Snorlax, it comes down to tomorrow, or today I guess, although you've been gone a few days, so maybe you're preparing a big surprise. But in terms of the rivalry competition, for those of you who don't know, Snorlax and I are in a little contest to see who can first find a cracked of these new Pokemon. And I guess if I want to win, I could just keep coming back to Old Gold, but we've got bigger plans. And I decided to go ahead and gamble on the Mega Hit on the Magneton. We'll probably just keep feeding it Poke Biscuits if it shows up hungry. 4 biscuits for a Magneton doesn't sound bad to me. Look at Caterpie ready to be hunted for berry finding S. But not today! It's a little sad to see Ditto all reset, but only because the one that we caught was just dumb. Earth Angel. Nope, we don't want you. We want the new guy. Give me the Shinx. Simba. You are more than what you have become. You must take your place in the circle of Snorlax's belly. If our only goal was Dream Shards, it might actually be worth staying here at the Old Gold Power Plant and grinding up the area bonus. We have other priorities. It's gonna be great to get back to Cheyenne Beach. I mean, Cheyenne Binks? Whoa, the game liked the video? Just kidding, I told you that it didn't register the instances until after you do your sleep research. That seems weird to me, but whatever. Now let's get to Shinx, 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 Shinx. Everybody! Give me oil! Oh, I should have said oils. Not what we want. Dang it. Why does every video end so depressing lately? Let's do this again sometime, but not with this guy. Happy researching.